Hi and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave and this is episode 1484BN. Today's date is January 29th, 2018, and the title of the episode is If the Deep State Propaganda Fails, Get Ready for the Event from Hell. Q. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. We are now at a point where the deep state, they are completely against the wall. Their backs are against the wall, and they have two options right now. They've been hitting us very, very hard with a lot of propaganda. They're going to ramp the propaganda up as to the highest level to try to convince everyone that everything that is coming out is not true, it's made up, it's because of Russia, it's fabricated, and they're going to use everything they know possible to use, and that is the corporate media, and they're just going to keep repeating it over and over and over. Now, on the other side, if their propaganda is not working, they are prepared and ready to use the event from hell. And we're going to discuss that a little bit later in this report, and why I say this, and why I think they most likely probably will use the event from hell, because their propaganda, it's just not working. And it looks like the House committee right now is they're expected to vote to release the memo. And again, those who have seen the document suggest it reveals that the role the unverified anti-Trump dossier played in the application for a surveillance warrant on at least one President Trump associates. Now, we can see right now that Trump is out there saying, yes, I will go with this memo release. I have no problem with it. And Trey Gowdy, who helped to write the 4-page memo, said on Sunday he wants it made public. If you want to know whether or not the dossier was used in court proceedings, whether or not it was vetted before it was used, if you're interested in who paid for the dossier, then yes, you'll want the memo to come out. Now, California Representative Adam Schiff, he's out there with his own ridiculous memo, which he completely made up, saying that this is all, about Russia and how Russia is doing all of this, and he wants his memo released. I mean, this is just ridiculous at this point, because they're just grabbing at anything to try to distract everyone from what is really going on. Now, the one thing they really don't have is the proof, the facts to back all of this up. I mean, he can write a memo, he can say whatever he wants, but it's meaningless. We also see that the FBI Deputy Director, McCabe, he stepped down. And people are saying that he was removed from his post as Deputy Director. And once again, McCabe stepped down today when he could become eligible for his pension benefits in March. Now, they're saying that he's taken some time off. He was removed and he's taking a leave of absence so he can still get his pension benefits. But we'll have to see how this really turns out, because we can see right now, I'm wondering if his name is mentioned in that memo. And we understand that he was part of the FBI. We have all these texts that are coming out right now, and we can see that things are going to be hitting the fan, and this is not going to be good for most of these individuals. And we see right now that a lot of these individuals, well, the walls are closing in around them. Now, we had a news story that was out there, and the corporate media put it out, that Trump was going to nationalize the 5G network. And this was, put out there, and it was completely fake, phony, and false. And we see right now that a senior White House official said that the Trump administration has no plans to build a nationalized U.S. 5G network. And I think what is happening right now is that the deep state, the cabal, they're pushing propaganda out there, trying to build emotion among the American people, and they're reaching for any type of story or anything that will make people angry and say, see, look what he's doing now. Oh, see, look what he's doing now. And I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to push their agenda through as much propaganda as possible. And we're going to see a lot of fake news come out. We're going to see a lot of this information come out. And one thing we need to do is we need to look at the facts. We need to look at where did this come from? Why is it being put out there? Is it true? And you can do this very easily by going on the net, looking at all different sources, looking at the sources of what they're saying is true, and finding out that they have no sources. And then you know already, right off the bat, that it's completely fake. We see that there was a House bill that was introduced earlier this month called the Securing America's Future Act of 2018. And basically buried deep in this bill was something about biometric national ID cards for all Americans. And the privacy activists, they're going crazy over this. Now, this was introduced by Bob Goodlatte, H.R. 4760, and encompasses issues such as education, homeland security, and the military. Buried in the 400-page legislation is the new mandatory national identification system in which citizens would be required to carry government-approved ID containing biometric features. So the bill pretty much states that anyone that's trying to find a job must have the card. Now, the purpose of the measure, part of the legislation solution to the Deferred Action or Childhood Arrivals Program, or DACA, is to curb illegal immigration. Now, once again, you don't have to have the biometrics of every single American. That's kind of ridiculous. They already have the E-Verify system, and guess what? That hasn't worked at all. So having everyone's biometrics, that's not going to help. Ron Paul is saying that this is ridiculous. We don't need a national ID system. There's no reason for it, because what they're really going to do with this is they're going to collect information on each and every one of us and put it into a database. And it might lead into gun ownership. It might lead into your religious beliefs. It might lead into all different things. And wherever you go, they can track you because you'll need your biometric card. You know what happens in the beginning. Oh no, we're just using it to get a job. Oh, now you need it to get into a building. Oh, now you need it to go to a concert, to get on a train, to get on an airplane, to go through some checkpoints. I mean, this is eventually what they like to do. And we can see right now, this was tucked away in there to try to get this through. We see North Korea is allegedly canceling their cultural performance due to be held in conjunction with South Korea. Now, this is something the deep state, the cabal, has been working on, trying to stop this from happening. And what South Korea's media has been doing is they've been demonizing North Korea so badly that North Korea allegedly has said that, you know something, we're not going to do this because we're not being treated right. And I believe the deep state, the cabal, this was their plan. And I'm hoping that North Korea reconsiders and basically looks at the corporate media and says, you know something, just because you're saying this, we're going to do it anyhow. But this is something the cabal definitely wants. They want to keep North Korea and South Korea completely separated. They don't want unification. They don't want any of this. And they're going to go to any length to try to make this happen. We see the Russian Defense Ministry. They have confirmed that one of their jets intercepted a U.S. Navy P-3 Orion surveillance plane. And this was around the area of the Black Sea and international airspace. And they're saying that the U.S. Navy P-3 Orion surveillance plane headed right towards Russia, and they sent up a jet to look at it. And of course, the Pentagon's out there saying that the interception was unsafe. But you're flying this surveillance plane near Russia. Can you, Matt? Let's switch it around here for a second. Let's say there was a Russian surveillance plane flying off the coast of New York. What would the U.S. do? They would send their jets up to say, hey, wait a minute. Something's entering our airspace very close. And this is what they've done. Of course, this was to provoke Russia. And remember, Trump, the patriots, the good guys, I'll call them, they don't have complete, full control of every single sector of the United States, each branch. And they're still deep state operatives still embedded. They still have control over the corporate media. The CIA officially recognizes U.S.-backed YPG, PYD, PKK as terrorists. Now let's think about this for a second. The CIA, in a document, says, yes, the PKK, they are a terrorist group. Turkey is saying that they're a terrorist group. And when you look at this, the United States, the cabal, I should say, is backing a terrorist group. Now, if we look at the law, and we look at the Constitution, 18 U.S. Code, Section 233, 9b, on providing material support to designated foreign terrorist organizations, clearly states that whoever knowingly provides material support or resources to a foreign terrorist organization or attempts or conspires to do so shall be fined under the title or imprisoned not more than 20 years or both, and if the death of any person results, shall be imprisoned for any term of years for the life. Similarly, there's another section, 2339A, dictates that whoever provides material support or resources or conceals or disguises the nature, location, source, or ownership of material support or resources, knowing that such support will be used to commit one of the offenses specified in the statute, destruction of aircraft, biological or chemical weapons, arson causing injury or death, acts of terrorism transcending national boundaries, to a list of few, will be subject to prosecution. And once again, all those individuals like McCabe and the rest, they were supporting terrorists. And here we are with these laws in place, and they're still doing it. The CIA supporting terrorists, totally against the Constitution. And again, they never follow laws. That's the problem. But what we see here is that there's a push right now in this area in Syria, where the Kurds are, to basically remove the cabal. Now, what's very interesting, on CNN and on the other corporate media, U.S. generals come out and say U.S. troops won't withdraw from Syria's city of Manbij. Now, Turkey is asking for the U.S. to withdraw the Syrian Democratic Forces, to remove their troops and remove themselves from this area. And the U.S. is coming out and saying, no, this is coming out of CNN and other corporate media outlets. I'm saying in a couple of weeks or so, we're going to hear an announcement saying that the Syrian Democratic Forces, the U.S. support there, is ending. We've seen it before. These generals that are out there making these statements, well, they're part of the deep state, the cabal. And the corporate media is pushing this idea because, again, they're the mouthpiece for the deep state, the cabal, because they don't want to leave Syria. They still think in their minds that they're going to head off and remove Assad and get into Iran, and they're going to reach all their goals. They haven't stopped believing this as of yet. But we can see right now the propaganda is continuing. I mean, Hillary Clinton, she was on the Grammys reading the book that was written about Trump, and this is just unbelievable during this. And again, this was one of the lowest ratings of the Grammy show that we've ever seen. But this is how far they're going to stoop to try to push their agenda and push everyone into thinking that Trump is this crazy fool. And what is really happening is that he's outsmarting them. Not just him. There's other people behind and helping this. They're even saying that there's a new report that claims that Michael Flynn has turned over a major cache of documents that is raising new questions among investigators about the Trump campaign, possibly coordinating with the Russian officials to undermine Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. And this is coming from Senator Mark Warner, saying that he has these documents. But the problem, where did these documents come from? Well, he can't answer that. These were completely fabricated to be used as propaganda to say that Trump was trying to undermine Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, because what really happened was Hillary Clinton was trying to undermine Trump's campaign. That's what they're trying to cover up, and that's why they're pushing these type of stories. Now, I wanted to go over what QAnon says, and this is coming from his latest post that he put out there, and I have a couple sections here. He starts off with who controls HW, which is Hollywood. Who really controls Hollywood? And he's saying that the CIA controls Hollywood. And there is increasing evidence that, yes, CIA does control Hollywood. And what the CIA does is they put out this PSYOP movies where they try to convince you that this is how this event went down, this is how this event went down. And when you look at these movies, and of course a lot of them are made up of war, or it has to do with FBI and things like that, or with JFK, they tried to make you believe that this is the way it happened, and they do it through movies. They've been doing this for a very long time. And we can see at this point is that their propaganda is just far-reaching, and they really dug themselves into the base of America, where they can do whatever they wanted to do over a very long period of time. So he went on to say, this is Q, so, what do they expect is coming? What must be said to provide counter-narrative? What might be said to discredit factual proofs coming? And what he's saying here is that Democrats and the deep state, the cabal, they're very worried right now, because they're worried about what's coming out from this memo, what's coming out from the Peter Strzok and Lisa Page texts that are pouring out and that were absolutely found, even though the FBI tried to hide them. We also see he's talking about Maxine Waters as a fraud, and he wants everyone to look into why these government officials who are on a salary of about $175,000, how can they afford a $4.5 million house? Maxine Waters just bought a $4.5 million house. And if you look at many of those people in government, I mean, their salaries are, $125, $150, $175, and they live the life of multimillionaires, and they buy and they purchase, very high-priced ticket items. And we can see right now that he's saying that Maxine Waters is the mouthpiece for the deep state, the cabal. He's also saying that the MSNBC, CNN, and the rest are going to continually push out fake news. And what caught me as very interesting throughout all of this is something that Q said. Should that fail, expect a major FF to force a shift. Now, what that really means is that if the propaganda disinformation effort does not work to shift everyone away from the memo, to shift everyone away from the text, to shift away everyone from what really is happening with all the investigations and everything like that, there's going to be a major false flag terrorist attack staged by the deep state to change the narrative of the news cycle from the State of the Union address. And what they're going to do is they're going to use terrorism, fear, negative, to counter everything that is going on here. And we've seen certain signs that they are preparing to do this. We mentioned yesterday that out in the western part of the United States, there's going to be a GPS blackout. We also know that Hawaii had this missile warning go off. We also realize that strange occurrences are happening in the stadium that is sponsoring the Super Bowl, where they changed the security forces and other things that are very, very odd that is happening right before the Super Bowl. So these are just a couple. I'm sure there's going to be many more. And I don't believe if there's going to be a major false flag terrorist attack, it's not going to be a shooter-upper type of thing. It's going to have to be something much, much larger to distract from what is happening. Something that would allow the corporate media to keep reporting on it day after day. Now think about it. When 9/11 happened, the World Trade Center came down. This went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. That's all you saw. So we're going to have something on the scale of 9/11 for the corporate media to distract from what is happening right now, because they can't just have a small shootout or, something, maybe a bomb go off and a person from, ISIS or something else blows up. That will stay on there for a couple of days. They're going to need something where cities maybe are blacked out, where there's a missile that hits the United States. Maybe it hits someplace out west. Maybe it hits Hawaii. Maybe they say it's from North Korea. Maybe there's a cyber attack on a financial system and the banks completely closed. Maybe the Super Bowl stadium blows up and all those people die. We don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that none of this stuff happens. But we know the deep state, the cabal, they will go to any length to distract. And if they're going to distract, it has to be big. It has to be something where it's going to continually be broadcasted over and over and over on the corporate media, so there's never any other type of news story that is out there for many, many weeks. So what we're looking at right now is something big to happen, because we can see right now their propaganda, it's not working. And think about it. If they do pull this off, they will stop the information coming out. They will be able to change and shift the narrative, and people will most likely over time, because it's so big, forget about what has happened here. And at the same time, they can explain away why the economy is failing right now. Now they can blame it on Trump, they can blame it on another country. It doesn't really make a difference at this point in time, but they'll have their cover. And this is coming from Q, and part of me says, is Q real? The other part of me is saying, is this Trump, where he's handing this off to someone else and then submitting it to 8chan and whatnot? But I find it very, very interesting that all this information is coming out, and we can see that it does sync to what we've been looking at and what we've been talking about, and we can see that we're headed in that same exact direction. So we can see that something huge is about to happen. And I think that the propaganda is not going to work, and they're going to do something huge. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.